how to allow for consumers to understand them. You're supposed to be there for the consumer,
right?
And you're not making forms that are readable. Boards, you got to get it together. This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 324 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
Nicole, the Consumer Federation of America, last time we spoke about one of their reports, they were saying that buy-side real estate commissions are going to go down 30-40%. Well, they just had a press release last week. Mm-hmm. We should be paying attention because they were mentioned in the lawsuit.
Right.
In a lot of the court hearings, and obviously before there was a settlement in the industry around buy-side commissions. But Consumer Federation of America on June 25th released a press release from Washington, D.C. According to the March 2024 National Association of Realtors settlement of class action lawsuits, buyer agents using multiple listing services will be required by August 17th. Date is coming up quickly.
Very quickly. To
obtain buyer signatures on buyer representation contracts. Since then, industry groups have been rewriting these contracts, which until now, most buyers did not sign. So consumerfed.org is saying that, hey, even the states, even the groups,
really?
even the organizations that had buyer agreements, most buyers did not sign them.
I mean, we don't get paid unless the buyer rep is signed.
No, but Nicole, be real for a minute. They weren't being signed before going out on tour.
No, that is very true.
They were being signed when the contract was being written.
It's making it sound like, though, that the things are not signed at all.
Okay. I'm just kind of reading into what they're saying, and I know what they're saying.
Yeah.
That right now the settlement is you've got to obtain signatures on buyer representation contracts before going out.
Do we know who's holding them to that? Like, as the listing agent, am I holding them to that? Or is the MLS holding them to that?
It's a rule.
I know.
As an MLS member, as an NAR member.
Because we're like 5 weeks away and we still
any
don't.
MLS member or NAR member.
Like, are we uploading them? Are we scanning them?
Good question, Nicole.
Is it like a QR code? You know, like, I don't know.
Is it on good faith?
Yeah, I mean, are you making cards? Like, you have like a driver's license? You know what I mean? Like,
we'll find out, I guess, come August 17th. Let us know if you know in the comments. I'm sure nobody knows the answer to that question. But Consumer Fed says, buyer beware. This is their headline. New contracts for home purchases. DOJ has initiated formal inquiry into a contract which was just released in California. We're going to break that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we though?
Yeah, we're going to break this down.
I don't know that we know how to.
Well, we're going to do our best. So CFA, Consumer Fed of America, has been evaluating these buyer contracts not only recently, but over the past several months.
Right.
They've learned that many of the contracts, buyer agency contracts, are anti-consumer, and they've also found that, one is understandable, and that this particular one is much more fair to everyday buyers.
Right.
Okay, so we'll break that contract down as well. All right. So an example, according to Consumer Fed of America, of an anti-consumer contract is the draft for buyer representation and buyer compensation agreement.
Broker compensation.
Yep. Which was released by California Association of Realtors, CAR, one of the largest, most influential realtor groups, obviously, in the country. This was released, this document was released on and revised on June 24th. So June the 25th, they come out with this press release. Boom. Yep. Consumer Federation's been doing all this research on buyer contracts. CAR drops this form, and boom, they come in and immediately make a press release in response to this form. Not only that.
Well, they have Tanya, a professor at the University of Buffalo, draft a.
She evaluated the CAR draft.
I mean, it's well over.
She prepared a detailed evaluation. She found Tanya
20 pages.
Monastieri, professor at University of Buffalo, faculty of law, she found that the car contract is virtually unreadable. No layperson. I always hear layman's person, but this is layperson.
You're into it.
I don't know. Layperson. Never heard the word, Tanya, but you are probably way smarter than I am.
Well, obviously.
No layperson.
She just drafted a 20-page essay on real estate law.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the lay people out here,
We're
like
good.
myself, we will not be able to understand and appreciate the terms they are agreeing to in the car document. So let's bring up the car document. We'll link the document below for you.
Yeah.
So you can look at it. It's a 4-page document. We'll also go through it here. It's a draft. Number one, Nicole, you know, if you've been following the Real World, we were talking about these when we talked about the Zillow home touring agreement.
Right.
I don't love 4-page agreements.
No, we don't love 4-page agreements at all.
I'm not a fan of...
You don't even love 3 pages.
No, I prefer 1 page, which is why I thought Zillow's home touring agreement at least was like, hey, can you get it done in 1 page? If you're meeting a buyer and you're going to engage in a contract to go out there and give your services, how complicated does it need to be? Nicole, there's a simple definition of an agent.
Uh-oh.
I asked a bunch of agents this morning.
What does that mean? You found a definition or you asked them
I
for their...
I didn't have to find it. It's in the definition book. It's in a dictionary. There's a definition of what an agent is. Okay?
Like a real estate agent? You mean a dictionary? Is that what you mean?
In a dictionary, the definition book. The book of definitions.
It hasn't been that long.
So I said, what's an agent? And everyone's kind of like looking at me like, is this a trick question? Okay.
Yeah.
What is an agent?
Like a real estate agent.
What is an agent?
Okay.
What is an agent?
Uh-oh.
Can you put it in the comments below before I answer it? What would you say?
I have no idea.
No idea. You are an agent and you have no idea.
No, I'm kind of curious to hear what they say.
Well, Nicole, how do you not have an idea? If somebody said to you, hey, Nicole, you're a real estate agent.
What's my job?
Well, it's like, hey, Nicole, you're a real estate agent. And you say,
well, I'm a realtor.
I'm a realtor. Nicole, you're a real estate agent?
I am a real estate agent.
Oh,
I help buyers and sellers buy and sell their homes.
Well, what's an agent?
Uh-oh. I don't know. I'm kind of like, I'm in.
Well,
I'm
you
curious.
kind of had it right. I help people do, but it's a little bit more than that. It's a little bit more.
Well, I mean, you have like a fiduciary responsibility, but that's more on like the realtor side.
Okay, but it's just, I'm trying to firm it up a little bit. The definition in the definition book, is a person who acts on behalf of another person or group.
Yeah, so you represent.
So don't take that as like, oh, I'm the agent representing the broker. You know, I get all that agent stuff. I'm just broker stuff. I'm talking about when you're thinking about the consumer. An agent is acting on behalf of this buyer, of this seller, of this tenant, of this landlord, of this whoever. You're acting on their behalf. Right. Okay. So the reason why I asked the agents, I'm like, that doesn't mean you wait for them to send you properties. It basically means you have to act on their behalf. You have to uncover opportunities. You have to have lots of conversations. Right. It's a conversation business.
Well, you're essentially them.
You're them.
Yeah.
And so are you actually going to put them in the best position possible? That comes with lots of conversations, turning stones to find great deals. It's a whole nother topic when you're talking about.
Whole nother training session.
Whole nother deal.
Probably find that on BAMX.
But, oh, absolutely. Get into BAMX. Use code REALWORD to get into BAMX. There you go, Nicole. Mm-hmm. But for the purpose of this discussion, you're an agent. You're a person who's representing, who's acting on behalf of another person. When you get into 4 pages like this CAR agreement, this car agreement.
Well, I mean, this is.
I don't even know what you're doing anymore.
No, I think I think where the problem here is that it's even in the header, buyer representation and broker compensation agreement. They're now so concerned about the fee, where it's like I feel like you're a little lost in, are you really doing this like on my behalf? Are you now truly representing me, or are you more concerned with your fee?
The point that Notorious ROB wrote about in his Substack is right in line with what you're saying. He goes, the first point is that the CAR form is one of the worst examples of legal lease I have ever seen. Yeah. It was deliberately and maliciously designed to be incomprehensible. then CAR should be congratulated on its smashing success if it was deliberately and maliciously designed to be incomprehensible. If it was meant to be understood by human beings, then not so much. And then he further goes on to say that exactly what you said, this was designed to protect agent interests, commission.
The broker, really.
But remember who wrote it. It was CAR. California Association of Realtors. Remember, I said this on Knowledge Brokers on Friday. Who's got the power? The MLSs have the power. And obviously agents do the work. So they're involved, okay? Somebody's got to go do the dirty work. But where do the boards actually have any relevancy, okay? And why did the board write it this way? Because they're trying to protect the last 40, not impact the next 40, okay?
Right.
So breaking this down, 4 pages, way too much, way too confusing. When you go to you got to go to page 4, by the way, to understand compensation. And you go to section 16, which is just 2 lines of this crazy document.
Yeah.
Buyer confirms that the compensation specified in paragraph 2D1.
2D1.
Okay, now I got to flip back up. I'm going to go up to page 1, 2D1. 2D1, amount of compensation. Okay, that just tells me the amount of compensation, that box. Okay, so now I'm going to go back down to page 4. I get it. It's just the amount that we filled in, whether that was a percentage or a flat. For broker services, it's just reiterating that it's X% or X flat fee specified in attached compensation schedule. It doesn't say who the buyer's collecting the fee from.
Right.
Or the broker collecting the fee from. Is it the buyer? Is it possible as a buyer that I can negotiate this in my offer?
Is the agent offering other options? But that's then not in writing.
Are there other options?
Right.
Now, on...
is it always in 2 different colors? Or did they do that...
Yeah, there's red and black, and it says draft through it. So this is something that they're working on.
Yeah.
Now on page 1 in number 4, which says compensation to broker, another section, they have compensation to broker in like 4 different sections instead of it like just being in one.
Right.
Like I have to bounce around this document a few different times to like, we're talking about 2D1 has compensation.
And now they're like, I'm not going in the house.
We have section 4 that talks about compensation, then section 16. So it's like, hold on, why am I bouncing all over this document?
What are you trying to hide here?
Number 4, compensation to broker. Another compensation broker section. Notice the amount or rate of real estate commissions is not fixed by law. They are set by each broker individually and may be negotiable between buyer and broker. Real estate commissions include all compensation and fees to brokers. Advisory. Buyer has been advised that who compensates the broker in a real estate transaction and how much is negotiable. So who's compensating the broker? You should be advised somewhere over here, but the document doesn't make it clear what the options even are.
Right.
How many options are there? What are those options available?
Well, this is the advisory. Now the buyer has been advised.
Then in section B on page 2, you have broker right to compensation. Broker shall be entitled to compensation specified in paragraph 2. It goes back to that paragraph 2D1 from buyer if during representation period or any extension thereafter buyer enters into agreement to purchase, lease, or otherwise acquire property described in paragraph 2B, and the seller thereafter completes the transaction or is prevented from doing so by default of buyer as follows. And you have 1, 2, 3. Then you have C, continuation of right to compensation for timing of compensation. Holy smokes. Listen, if I'm in California, I'm a buyer. Before I go out and start touring homes, I'm not moving forward until I have an attorney review this.
Well, and it's interesting because that's exactly what this federation is recommending you to do, is to request it, send it to your attorney, and then start looking at homes.
In the press release from the Consumer Federation.
Could you imagine now you're like waiting for your attorney to review the form, and now a house sold.
Hey, Nicole, I want to go see this house.
Can you send me my form?
Just came on the market.
You think they're really going to ask for form? I could see commercials now.
Whether they ask for the form or not,
make sure you ask.
Whether you're the listing agent or the buyer agent, you've got to present the form.
For sure.
So now you say, I want to see this house on Friday. Okay, I'm the buyer. I say I want to see the house. You're the agent. You send me the form. I see the form. Oh my God. This thing is crazy.
And then there's an open house on Sunday.
I've got to go.
That I'm going to the open house. I'm going to go right to the. I'm going to go right.
I mean, if it's not sold, but I got to go and get this past my attorney.
Right.
Okay. So CFA recommends that, to Nicole's point, you request a buyer contract in your first communication with an agent. This is what the CFA is telling buyers. This might be good data, by the way. The press release is linked up for you. This might be a good thing for you to put in your buyer toolkit. We're going to talk about a buyer toolkit here in a minute that is pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
But you may have a buyer toolkit on your website or some type of slide that you put together. And these, you might say, per the CFA, here are the things that they urge buyers to do. Request a buyer contract in the first communication. After taking time to understand it, perhaps with the help of an attorney, discuss the contract with the agent. Yeah, if you're using the CAR one, you better get an attorney because you're not. I don't understand it. So
No.
to Notorious ROB's point, to Consumer Federation of America's point, I don't understand it either. I'd love to know from some California agents, do you like doing a 4-page document with your
No.
buyers? Do you think that that's...
Well, and then an attorney did look at it and had a 20-page rebuttal to it.
And the attorney in Buffalo had a 20-page analysis, correction,
Yes.
rebuttal. They're calling it not understandable, ineligible. That's crazy. Okay, of course, the Consumer Federation also goes on, Nicole, to say, try to negotiate buyer agent commission down from today's typical 2.5% to 3% level, in their words. See if the seller is willing to provide this compensation, keeping in mind that the seller may compensate this loss by raising the home sale price. Listen, that's Consumer Federation of America. I'm agreeing with you on the majority of this press release because it's very accurate.
Yeah.
Saying that the seller is going to raise the price of the home. The market determines the price of the home. This is stupid. You guys are smarter than that. You understand how a market works. Home prices don't go up and buyers don't get savings based on commission. The market determines the price of these homes.
Well, I mean, and that's sort of like, that was the whole point of this lawsuit too, was that like it was inflating.
No, well, Ketchmark says,
just like,
you know, buyers are going to save money. No, they're not. Sellers aren't going to leave money on the table. They're going to get the most that they possibly can for the house every single time in a good market, bad market, normal market. So that's just a silly one.
Mm-hmm.
But then they go on, bullet point number 5, not sign buyer agreements that look anything like the CAR form. And that's where we're in alignment. Consumer Federation, I think boards, you guys have got to get your stuff together on this.
fast.
Right now, you have a huge question mark of value. And if you can't figure out the forms, fill in the blank forms, how to make them simple, how to make them readable, how to allow for consumers to understand them, you're supposed to be there for the consumer.
Right.
And you're not making forms that are readable. Boards, you got to get it together. The brokers who haven't released anything and are waiting for their state board to do everything, you're in trouble too.
Ruh-roh.
EXP, not one of those brokers. I've been critical of EXP in the past for other reasons.
Yeah.
I've been supportive on EXP. I'm not with EX. I'm just making it clear that EXP has a phenomenal form. Consumer Federation agrees. Notorious ROB Substack agrees. A lot of people now in the industry
Agree.
I agree. A lot of people lining up to say that this buyer broker representation agreement is phenomenal. I'll go a step further to say exptoolkit.com is a great model for buyer representation toolkit. The Realtor.com updated one. It talked about a Knowledge Brokers pod last week. That's a pretty good model too. This EXP model, though, has 2 forms that anybody, you can go on there right now. We'll put the link down below. You can get a single property form and a buyer broker form. The buyer broker form is 2 pages.
Yep.
And it is so easily readable,
Very
understandable.
Readable. It's all one color.
The font is even attractive to my eye.
It's better. It's the whole thing is aesthetically pleasing.
Like
I mean, again, I know the first one was a draft, but it's larger.
The CAR agreement is 4 pages, but they didn't want to go to a 5th page, so they had to make the font smaller.
Correct.
And harder to read.
And then there's like 1D, like D3. It's, yeah.
Yeah, this one you just have 1, then 1 goes to
2.
and then goes to 3.
Oddly.
My
Yeah.
3-year-old could break down the numbers on this agreement. Like,
Well, and what
how
they're
it
saying
goes.
is clear. Length of agreement, like broker's efforts, best for experience.
I'll break it down here in just a second, but this is the way it should be done. And I said this a while back. I said the forms is going to become a marketing opportunity.
Absolutely.
EXP saw this as a marketing opportunity to capitalize on, to show agents that they're being proactive. They're not waiting for the local boards to solve
Right.
the problem like so many other brokers are. They didn't sit on their hands. They went out and created WISE forms, August 17th, new forms coming into the industry, a marketing opportunity. Because if you have an easily understandable form, something that the consumer can read, doesn't need to check with an attorney on, doesn't need legal on, and can feel comfortable, confident signing and getting into action, well, those agents using that form are going to get more buyers to work with them. They're going to get more people
Absolutely.
to represent. They're going to get more deals done. And vice versa, the brokerages that are like the creator of that, guess what? They're going to attract more agents.
For sure.
They're going to get more agents to say, I want to be using those forms because it's making my life easier.
Well, and I'm not scared. I think right now there's a lot of people that are still scared because they're not being proactive.
So number one, and we'll link this up and we'll show this in the screen as well. Properties. Okay, so we understand which properties we're looking at. Is it going to be a geographical area? Is it going to be a type of property, res, commercial, land? Are we putting addresses in that line? Boom, very clear. This is what we're looking at, okay? What's the length of agreement? The CAR one is dictating it can be 3-month max. This doesn't have a a certain time frame. It's like, what are you comfortable with? You comfortable
Right.
with 7 days? You comfortable with 70 days? You comfortable
Yeah.
with 7 months? You comfortable with, what are you comfortable with as the broker and or the agent and the buyer? Agency disclosure. Okay, the relationship between buyer and broker determines how broker will work on buyer's behalf. The CAR agreement says if you do a market analysis, you're all of a sudden the broker.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Well, but we all have these
Bullshit.
agency forms that we have to sign anyway already. So it's like,
If I send you a CMA, all of a sudden I'm your agent?
yeah.
That's dumb. No, that's just dumb.
Again, because what are they doing? They're trying to cover the broker's ass. They want to make
Yeah.
sure the broker is getting paid.
So the agency relationship between buyer and broker determines how broker will work on the buyer's behalf. Broker's agency relationship with buyer is disclosed and documented in a separate disclosure form. Everybody should have one of these separate forms. Hats off to Connecticut actually did this, where they have a one-pager. Here's the agency disclosure. And it's now mandated as of April 1 in that state to present that.
Right.
Hey, I got to present this form. You don't have to sign it. It's a read-only form, but I got to present the
Right.
agency disclosure. Broker effort. Broker will exercise in good faith to locate and present suitable properties to buyer. Okay, so here are some of the efforts that go through. For best experience, broker is encouraged to be accompanied by broker on buyer's first tour. Okay, so trying to plan for procuring cause nonsense. Okay, now number 6, broker fee. Very easy. Put this up there, Haley, on the screen for people that are just not listening and watching, but I'll break it down. The broker fee is check only 1% of the gross purchase price of the property as reflected on the final settlement statement. You check that box and fill in the percent, and it reads word for word exactly $ blank line. You fill that in. Okay. So you're checking a box and doing a flat fee or a percent of gross purchase price.
And I love that it's specifying gross because there's so many agents that do net.
Then on the top of page 2, you have a top section that is grayed out differently from the rest of the form. It is a light gray.
It almost looks like they want you to take scissors to it.
Yeah, it's got like a little cutout.
Yeah,
Like it stands out.
you know, like when you were in elementary school, like there were like scissors along. Yeah.
It stands out to me as like, oh,
Yeah.
what is this? Collecting broker fee from the seller. Okay, so A, credit to buyer at closing. The buyer may choose to negotiate that the broker fee be paid in whole and part by the seller through a seller credit to the buyer at closing. At buyer's instruction, broker will write this request into buyer offer to purchase the property. And B, direct seller to broker comp. Buyer authorizes broker to request that the broker fee be paid or in whole or in part by the seller to broker at closing. Such agreement will be memorialized in separate compensation between the seller and the broker. And so it's showing you that there are
and it's in
multiple
writing.
ways
Correct.
to do this.
Instead of you just sitting there like bullshitting that like, oh, I'll try to get the money another way. I love that it's written. Additional
terms, other buyers, then cancellation. Either party may cancel this agreement effective upon delivery of written notice to the other party unless buyer is under contract to purchase the property. By the way, a lot of people aren't going to like that.
Why?
Well, like CAR, it's very difficult to even understand how you get out of that agreement.
Oh, right.
Some people are like, no, if I sign you to 4 months, it is. It's a sentence. It's a life sentence. Until, even if you haven't been
well, I think the car is
property.
saying that they acknowledge it, but then the broker has to authorize the release.
There's too many, I don't understand. Like, I got to jump through too many hoops. This one's very clear. If it's not working out, I can write you written notice and cancel the agreement. This is how I used to write my listing contracts.
Right.
Hey, if I don't communicate weekly with you, with written notice, you can cancel this agreement. I'd write it right in. Because what do you really think somebody, I got 30 days left. I hate this agent. I'm going to keep seeing homes with this agent, or am I going to wait the 30 days?
Right.
Or am I going to just say, you know what?
Out.
F off. I'm going to go do the deal somewhere else.
Right.
So you got to let people out these agreements if it's not working out. They've identified that. We're going to link this up. What do you think about this? This is very simple. It's easy to read. Anybody who can qualify for a mortgage or has accumulated cash to buy a house can understand this agreement.
Correct.
Barely anybody who can qualify for a mortgage or has cash to buy a house can understand the CAR agreement. Poor job, California. I hope other boards talk to EXP, talk to their attorney. Hey, we want to learn about this form. It's easy to understand. There's a lot of applause going on in the industry. We want to emulate our forms. How can we be better? I would encourage the boards to do that. I would encourage the brokers.
Agents looking to stand out from the crowd, Reminder Media is a resource you have to check out. You get your own branded print and digital magazines, email newsletters, and social media content. Reminder Media delivers these resources to your contacts on autopilot, keeping you top of mind with your database. All you need to do is focus on your follow-up calls and watch referrals and repeat business come in. I just started using this service, and I'm already seeing results from this after only a few weeks. Use the link below to try out Reminder Media.
Hate it, hate them, love them, whatever the deal is. Maybe they're a competitor of yours, whatever. I'd encourage you to follow what EXP is doing and try to emulate this. Every state's going to be a little bit different. And I mean, if you're in a state where you're going to be highly, obviously regulated on all this legal mumbo jumbo in California, it's going to be really hard for you to do business. California, that's been one of the things people say about California. It's hard to do business in California.
They say lots of things about California.
Try to make it as easy as you can for your consumers to understand this stuff so that you can do business, that you're not impacted by this type of regulation. I think a form like the EXP one might make a lot of sense for people to start emulating. All right.
Love it.
Take a look. Let us know what you think in the comments. And by the way,
wait a minute. We never heard about what the agent said agent was. You never said.
The what?
You never said what they said agent meant when you asked them downstairs.
Oh, they had an answer like yours that was close, but not definition. Okay.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more fun.
You are working on the behalf of somebody. You are representing somebody. You are
kind of left us hanging there.
Contracted by somebody. So make sure that they understand and make sure that you're actually doing everything in their best interest there.
Absolutely.
All right, there you go. Sorry about last week. I had an 18-hour delay, which screwed up my entire week.
Poor Byron.
Which is why we didn't have a Real Word pod. We are back, and we'll be back next week after the holiday weekend. Enjoy. See you guys in the comments.
See you guys.
At BAMX, we listen to what real estate professionals want and need. That's why our platform is filled with sought-after courses, content, and tactical assets for your business. And that's why we launched BAMX in a box with templates and scripts done for you, delivered each Friday. The best part? It's not coming from panel pontificators who bought their followers and don't sell any real estate. It's coming from top agents, team leaders, and content creators in the industry. It's education that actually shows you how to do what you need in today's market. And now it includes editable templates and scripts so you can easily deliver that knowledge to your database. Every day, we continue to add more content into BAMX, into our private Facebook community, content that works, content that our members have exclusive access to daily. So do not wait any longer. Use code REALWORD and join the thousands of agents taking their business to the next level today. Code REALWORD for 10% off. I'll see you in BAMX.